Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read it again. I literally read it, the whole book, 300 pages yesterday. I'm a pretty fast reader. And I read, it was one of the first books I read when I was 19 years old. So I wanted to reread it again to gain that financial literacy. So the book is about not being employed for the rest of your life, but escaping the rat race and becoming financial free. And how does he do that? Well, he makes money work for him instead of working for money. And how does he do that? Well, he understands that most people just work for money. They do the traditional route, they get educated, then they spend all their money working a 9 to 5 job forever. And they, the more they earn, the more they have to pay for their liabilities. So the poor just have income and they go straight to the expenses. The middle class, they buy liabilities with their income. They have higher income, but they have liabilities which cost them money every single time, so they don't have enough money over to buy assets. And assets, that's what the rich people are. They invest in assets in order to gain more capital and gain freedom. So, for example, an example of an asset is a stock, real estate, or other things would generate you income whilst you're not working actively on it. So it's passive income by investing. And the first book is more about understanding that and understanding that you should not work for money because then you become addicted to working for money. And then understanding what you should do with your money to invest it into assets instead of liabilities. So it's a very interesting concept because if you don't have a rich dad in your life, reading this can be eye-opening because you understand just wasting all of your money and keep on working for it instead of making that money work for you. And then we live in a capitalistic society, so it's better that you actually get used to the system. That is true, instead of running away from it and spending and buying liabilities like cars, houses, like he says, houses, because it's a liability. You're having down payment for 30 years, now you're in debt, so you can't even pay it off. You want to be free and you want to invest in those assets. So what he says in his other book is that you go from an employee to self-employed, business owner, and investor. It's those 4 stages. So you start off as an employee where you work for someone else. You make them rich instead of making yourself rich. And you live in the fear stage. You're completely afraid of losing that income. So you're a slave to the business and the boss. When you're self-employed, you're not as afraid, but you're still working hard for yourself in your business, but you're not a business owner, so you're just working for other businesses. But you're more independent than an employee, so more risk averse. I mean, less risk averse than an employee. Then when you're a business owner, at least you have a corporation where you work for yourself. But then you have to scale it so you're not a slave to your own business. But at least the money goes on to your own business instead of someone else. And then investor is where you gain the most freedom because you don't have to work inside of that business for someone else or self-employed. That's where you want to end up, but still you need certain skills in order to become an investor. And that's also what Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki says, is to invest in your education in order to gain those skill sets so you don't lose most of your money. Invest in education because education is the most important thing to invest in because this is the only thing you will have left. Even if you lose all your money, they will not be able to take your knowledge and your wisdom away from you. So this is what you should invest in first before anything else. And before investing, You should read and meet successful investors already and ask them for advice before investing. So this is the way you become a rich dad and not a poor dad.